2018, the first gold medals to be decided, and those who've done well here this week will believe in themselves. There's no doubt that the tracks here suit certain athletes. They suit the hill climbers, the Macarainers, the Laura Dalmeyers, certainly. On the men's side, well, Julien Eberhardt's proved he can do it. Martin Fourcade is without a doubt the strongest hill climber on the tour. So expect to see them collecting medals of some colour next year. Russia wearing bib number 1. It's been a good season for them, 4 out of 4 on the podium. Can they make it 5 out of 5? Karanichev is back on form. He's been racing well here. 2 top 10 finishes in the sprint and the pursuit. There's the anchor leg. No surprise to see Anton Shapulin. Of course, Russia, the world champions. That was a good performance from them. So still a few minutes to go before the start of the race. Roman Rees gets a call up for the German squad. Lesser, Rees, Doll and Pfeiffer, the lineup. Benedikt Doll was the man who really let it go in the World Championships. They ended up down in 4th, although it has to be said, Landertinger out skiing Simon Schemp on that last 2.5 kilometres. That was one of the spectacles of the championships, and Simon Schemp outclassed on the final climb. The French, Bithix, Simon Fourcade goes 2, Simon Dessieux goes 3, and then Martin Fourcade bringing up the rear. No rest for him, despite the fact that he's now achieved just about everything he wanted to achieve this year. He is knocking the records off one by one. Christiansen certainly made advantage in the Norwegian team, and they call on the master, the man who dominated the tour, the World Championships here back in 2009. Bjorn Dahlen, he took gold in the sprint, the pursuit, the individual. Didn't get the mass start. That went to Dominic Landertinger, actually. Labilund. Team 5, that's Ukraine. Prima, Semenov, Semikov, Podrushny. There's Sergei Semenov. And just in case you're wondering where my partner in crime is, Mike Dixon, still at the Nordic World Championships. They're on their final day today, and he'll be rejoining us for the next round of the World Cup in Kontiolahti. And then he'll be taking the last week of the season off to go and race in the Masters Championships in Kontiolahti again. So he'll have seen a fair amount of Finland over the last 6 weeks, and very little of his family. Well, there's Julien Eberhardt. What a star. What a star he is, winning the sprint race here. And I think, actually, although he's obviously delighted to get his 3rd World Cup win, I think the most significant thing about his success here this week is the fact that he got a podium finish in a 4-shoot race. He's making the big time, and if he can get another good run today, his confidence is going to be sky high. And so much of biathlon, particularly the shooting part, is about confidence. There he is. He's one of the tallest men on the tour. He's got the broadest shoulders of anyone I've seen on the tour. He's an absolutely monster of a man. And the temperature it's dropped a little bit. We had the highest we got in the women's race was 7 degrees. It's on its way down, but there's still 100% cloud cover, so there's no chance that it's going below freezing anytime soon. If it did, it would produce some pretty dangerous conditions. I think the downhills would be super fast, but I don't think there's any danger of that happening. Well, there's your course. 3 loops of the 2.5 kilometre for each athlete. 2 shoots apiece, 1 in the prone, 1 in the stand, as you all know, and crucially those 3 spare rounds. The women's shooting was not good. Yes, there was a bit of wind, but really I don't think the wind explained everything. So here are your top teams, and their number corresponds to their ranking after the World Cups from the season. Russia, as I mentioned, 4 out of 4 podiums, career racing 25. They've brought in Timothy Lapshin. You may remember him when he used to race for Russia. They've got Avramakova and Frelina also on the women's side. I do suspect that's the only way they're going to get any success in the biathlon and the Nordic events next year. Left it a little bit late, I think. Now, what can the Americans do? They put their best first, playing their trump card early with Lowell Bailey. There's Lesser. He's had the razor out. Takes the first leg for Germany, obviously. Eric Lesser, 6th in the World Cup standing. So, although we've not seen a massive amount of him, he's been very, very consistent all the way through the year. I think he'd be reasonably happy with the way things have gone. Just looking, what's he had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 5 finishes, but it's the wins that really get him the column inches, and that's what he needs just to boost his season. He's got 5 more chances, 5 more individual races. Obviously, Kontiolahti, a sprint and a pursuit, and then we've got a couple of mixed relays, the single mixed relay and the mixed relay on the Sunday. And then Oslo, the traditional finish to the season, which we've seen in Hyanti-Mansisk many times, a sprint pursuit, and then the last day of the season is the mass start. So 5 chances for those athletes that haven't quite fulfilled their ambitions to put things right. Christiansen, Bjorndalen, Germanshout, Larby Lund. Well, noticeable for the absentees. The Burr brothers are not here, Svensson's not here. Just recharging their batteries for the final stages of the season. Is it slightly bizarre they haven't come to check out the Olympic tracks? Well, they can chat to their mates and find out exactly what they were like. Here's your Austrian quartet, and Vega is in for Mesetic. So I think we could see something good from them. Simoneda taking the second leg. If they're with the leaders at halfway, I think Austria will challenge for a top 3. The Czech Republic, it's been a long time since we saw them have success. Best for them this season is 5th. On my clock, we've got 15 seconds before the hour. The heartbeat has started. A steady 75 BPM. And away they go. Really powerful start from Maxim Svetkov of Russia on the near side. He wants to lead, he wants to dictate the pace, and that's a good positive move from him. Beatrix of France is out of trouble on the left-hand side. Good move, and Christiansen of Norway benefiting from Svetkov's effort because he's been sucked up into 2nd place, and that's pretty much where you want to be at this stage. The speed that Svetkov went out has spread the field over some 30 metres, and consequently far less congestion on those first couple of corners than we saw in the women's race earlier on. Perhaps the most impressive is Lucas Hoffer. He was back on the 3rd rank. He's got himself right up alongside Svetkov. So with some good tactics and a lot of effort, I suspect, he's got himself into a good position. But I think it shows that the Italians have some intent. Let's keep an eye on him. He's wearing bib number 8. Just can't quite work out how he got his way through. Well, there he is. He started on the left, worked his way over to the right, and I think he pinged the fact that Svetkov went off very, very hard and opened up a gap behind him. Christiansen obviously sucked along, but then Schlesinger of the Czech Republic wasn't interested in going off at a crazy pace. So, Russia 1, Italy 2, Norway 3. Now let's have... I was going to say a little wager. We don't need anything like that, but just thinking that we're going to see a change in the top three, the order of the top three, every time they come in to shoot. And that usually only occurs when you have a close race. These tracks here, they suit the stronger skiers, so the field tends to be a little more spread than it would on some of the easier tracks. Well, it's sounding a whole lot quicker than it did earlier on. Just, you can still see that there's a lot of loose snow on the top. They've been scraping the snow ever since the finish of the women's race, and it's exposed some of the ice underneath. But the fact that the temperature's still at 4 degrees means that it's not quite as rock hard as it would be as if the temperatures were down at 0. So Lucas Hoffer's making everyone hurt at the moment, climbing the hills well. Svetkov sitting back 2 or 3 meters, but look at the spread. Well, that is very, very unusual. And those teams who were unlucky enough to be at the back of the grid, America amongst them because of the race they missed earlier on in the season. Hoffer piling on the pressure. Norway's quartet, Christiansen, Bjorndalen, Germanthaug, Labe, Lund. This is only Christiansen's 6th World Cup race this season. Lots of IVU action, but 2 respectable results. In the sprint he finished 18th, and the pursuit he worked his way up to 12th, hitting 18 out of 20. So I think this is a fairly critical World Cup. I think this is where he will be recognised by the coaches as a real A-team prospect. Now, how much money are you going to put on Lucas Hoffer clearing 5 with 5 after this effort? This reminds me of his early days on the World Cup when he skied as quick, if not quicker than everyone else, but was very, very loose with the rifle. There's Bailey of USA. Good weekend for him. Bailey into the top 10 of the World Cup standings, incidentally. He's 9th now, picking up some very valuable points on Friday in the sprint event, finishing 2nd. And Susan Dunkley, just having to stretch my memory a little from last night's late revision, 11th in the World Cup standings, if I'm not mistaken. She would love to finish in the top 10, and I'm sure that will make a big difference with sponsors back home. So, first shoot of 8. Long, long way to go. 7.5 kilometers each leg. Winning time at the World Championships this year, 1 hour 14. The women's race this morning was some 3 minutes quicker than the World Championship relay. So we could be looking at a winning time of around 1:10, 1:11. Svetkov, 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks. I don't know what he's seen, because the flags... he's gone back 2. He's gone back 2. Great shooting from Erik Lesser. Norway with Christiansen. Have they found a new relay starter? I think they might have done. Christiansen knocking the 5 down with 5 rounds. Austria, Ukraine, likewise. Good shooting from the Canadians, trying to match what their women did earlier on today. And 3 misses for Italy. Haha, I wonder why. Hoffer now in danger of going from first to last. He's got a penalty loop. He still hasn't recovered from that skiing effort. Patience is a virtue. 2 penalty loops. Oh, disaster for Hoffer. That's very, very disappointing. Now, the Italians have won a men's relay before. I was slightly shocked to find out it was way back in 2012 when they won in Oberhof in dreadful conditions, and they've not really had too much to shout about since then. De Lorenzi, the two Windisch brothers, and Hofer was the team on that occasion. But Italy, I suspect, are going to be last away, having come in first. Nice shots of the targets. Obviously got an artistic director this week, and Lesser finds himself out front now with Christiansen of Norway just behind him, and Switzerland in third. Through 3.2, and so not quite at the halfway stage of this first leg as yet. Team 6, that's Lawrence Vega. He's come in for Mesetic, 25, and actually did okay. He was 21st in the sprint. He doesn't have the ski speed of the top gun, so to see him there sitting in 5th, he might be another victim of pushing too hard. It takes a brave man to back off the pace on the early stage of a loop. I think you tell yourself, I'll get my recovery just before I come in to shoot. Sometimes that is too late. Christian Gao for Canada, shooting well on the first leg. Actually, the shooting standard very high for that first prone shoot, in contrast to the women's race earlier on. Well, at least we're starting to get some idea of the tracks here for the time trial events, and even the pursuit. Actually, we didn't have too many cameras out on the course. At least today we're getting to see everything, and it's generally steep up, steep down, and then that run into the range that on the maps actually looks quite flat, but when you see them in action, it's quite an easy approach into the range, especially when the conditions are icy, which I suspect we'll get a fair amount of during the Olympics. Now, 4.1, and it's time to start thinking about the second shoot in 900 meters time, just over 2 minutes. And the pace has gone from fast to steady to slow, and Switzerland getting a rare taste of the lead. Serafin Wiesner is the man that's gone ahead. Eric Lesser, is that a wise decision? If it's an individual race, you're taking responsibility for yourself, but I'm not sure the rest of the German team will fancy that. They'll forgive him if all 5 targets go down, because it's about maintaining a lead at this stage. There goes Schlesinger just ahead of number 13 from Slovakia, Matej Kazar. Four relays this season, 4 different winners. France, of course, won in Östersund, the first round, in PyeongChang I should say, the first round was a mixed relay, wasn't it, up in Östersund. PyeongChang was all about the French. Norway won in Ruhpolding, which is where they tend to do well. Steep climbs, easy approach to the range, tends to be calm, so easy shooting conditions. I think they might quite fancy their chances here, but the wind patterns in this range are far more complicated than the ones we get in Ruhpolding, so that could be Norway's undoing. But they did well in the women's relay earlier on today, and they don't start any relay thinking they're not going to do well. But this season, a mixed bag. They've had a 9th, a 1st, a 2nd and an 8th at the World Championships. That was massively disappointing. Just having a look down to see who to pin the blame on. Tarjei Bo, really, 13th fastest on his leg, did a penalty loop, and that put Norway out of contention. Vega already paid the price for his little burst of exertion. Surprisingly to see Erik Lesser throw the first one wide. Christiansen hit 5 out of 5 in the prone. He's hit 9 out of 9 in the race so far. He gets 10 out of 10. Good shooting again from Bailey. My goodness, he's turned his shooting around. The Americans have worked very, very hard on their standing shoot this year. And actually, Bailey's record still isn't that high. His percentages aren't that high. Rather like Dunkley, but they tend to have weekends where everything goes wrong. But on the big occasions, they're producing the goods. Bulgaria, Estonia, the Russians some way behind. What's happened to them? We'll try and catch up on that. They missed 2 on the first shoot. Maxim Svetkov. Well, they've got time to make up the difference, but Svetkov hasn't made Goranichev's job any easier. But Goranichev is a good chaser. We've seen that before. We know Shipulin can chase down a lead, so they're not out of it quite yet. But it's the Americans who lead after shoot number 2. Christiansen, good burst of speed to get ahead of Bailey coming out of the stadium. He's on the way home now, and Kazakhstan with Savetsky sitting in 3rd. Ukraine just behind them. That's Artem Prima, who's, what's he, 37, 38 in the World Cup standings. Been an okay season for him, but he did a very good sprint here, finished in 10th in the sprint here in PyeongChang, so I think Prima will be happy with the fact that he's made the journey out here. Ukraine 3 times 4th, and then they dropped to 6th in the World Championships. Time for the former world #1 to prepare himself, the man whose records are now being picked off one by one by Martin Fourcade. Christiansen makes it look as though he's not travelling too fast, but he's a very efficient skier. Big, tall man, long glide. Good hill climbing from Artem Prima. Beatrix 15 behind. The French so far just one spare round required. So he's lost a fair amount of time. Beatrix lost 10 seconds to the race leaders on this lap so far. 14:39 the time for Christiansen, going through 5.7. He's got the accelerator down, doing very well. And Maxim Svetkov playing catch-up. Now, you wouldn't expect to see him down there because, what is he, 12th in the World Cup standings. He's got a 93% hit rate in the prone position, Svetkov, this season. But it's not been his day, and I wonder whether he's not 100%. Almost a minute behind. Goranichev, Babikov, Shipulin have some work to do. And, of course, they are trying to hold on to the lead in the World Cup standings. Today, the final relay, We've got Russia on 2:16. We've got Germany on 1:99 and France on 1:82. So let's say, for sake of argument, as we see Schlesinger take a rare fall. Oh, and there we go, another Lecky pole snapped off 6 inches from the end. There's no point going to pick up the pieces. He gets rid of both. Good, good positioning. Christensen, Savitsky and Prima. We've seen a lot of broken poles over the last couple of days, not just here, also at the Nordic World Championships. Marit Bjørgen breaking a pole in the women's 30k. First time in a race she's broken a pole. That is hard to believe. Actually, having said that, most poles are broken when you're out training and you're not concentrating. Vega losing ground now. He came out of the range in first position, but he overextended himself before that second shoot, and that's allowed Norway to pull clear. This is a fine performance from Christensen, and he puts some pressure on the rest of the Norwegians. Now, Uliana Bjørndalen goes next. Not been a brilliant week for him, 26th and 19th in the 2 races, but generally, certainly in his prime, the profile of the courses here suit him to a T. Good start, gets a little bit of speed up, no danger of clashing poles, and Bjørndalen is away. Chasing him will be Sergei Semenov of the Ukraine, and for America now, Leif Nordgren taking over from Bailey, who's had yet another good run. Well, if he was thinking of retiring at the end of this season, not that you ever see an American retire the season before an Olympic Games, but if he had any thoughts about it, which he has had in the past, he will definitely reconsider, because I think he's on the form of his life. Czech Republic down in 10 after that fall for Mickey Schlesinger. We've got Austria down in 11th. I thought we might see something from them. Simonada now, Eberhard Landertinger. It's a fantastic trio finishing this one off, but they've given the rest of the teams a fair chance. 43 seconds the margin, and Austria around the Czech Republic and Slovenia and Estonia. There's Goranichev, he's got an even tougher job. 58 seconds was the margin back to Svetkov. There is definitely something not right for Svetkov. If it's the skis, that will be a problem, because it's something that will go through the whole quartet. If it's his health, then obviously he needs a few days rest. We may not see him in action in Kontiolahti. Goranichev likes a chase, he's the terrier type. Leif Nordgren making the chase on Bjørndalen, just taking the first climb steady. Will he retire after 2018? Surely he will. Nordgren, Semenov. Podkoritov. And I guess the other question is, when Bjørndalen retires, will Daria do the same? Well, they're certainly in a fortunate enough position to be able to retire whenever they like. They have done very well for themselves. Thank you very much. Simon Fourcade racing for France on the second leg. This has been a better week for Simon. Looked pretty good in the pursuit. He started 21st, worked his way right the way through the field, and if he hadn't missed 2 on the last shoot, I think he would have finished in 4th or 5th position. Italy playing catch-up. Dominic Vindish now on course after Lucas Hoffer's fiasco after that first shoot. Lucas Hoffer, 6 misses in all. He's done 3 penalty loops. That's a nonsense. I did think he looked as though he was winding the clock back to his irresponsible youth, where he would just go 100%. Started his career a little bit like Frode Andersen. It wasn't about the result. It was about being the quickest across the snow. Just watch how beautifully balanced Bjorndalen is on the skis. It's been one of his strong points over the years. Leif Nordgren, second leg for USA. Schomer and Doherty. Sean Doherty taking the last leg as we see Ries of Germany down in 6th, 21.9 behind, and Germany at the exchange a little bit closer than that. Clement Bauer. Now, when are we going to see him back on his best? Never actually made the podium in an individual race, Bauer, but he's an exciting athlete. But another who doesn't quite have the temperament for the shooting. And it is about control. It is about relaxation. In some ways, it's about not caring. But it's so difficult not to care when there's so much at stake. Goranichev down in 16 now. An update on the Russians. They were 112 behind when they took over. Now let's just estimate. If Goranichev has his best day, he can cut that margin to 30 seconds. Obviously it depends what happens at the front of the field. But if Goranichev hits all 10, Ziggy Mazet, as you'll well know, formerly with the French team. I think he's enjoyed his first season with the Norwegians. They've not been as successful as they have been in the past. Norway only 4th in the rankings, but different atmosphere, different personalities. Gets on very well with Johannes Tingesbø. That was a solid hit. I thought 3 was a split round. And the round's drifting away. No change in the wind, so that might have been a positional thing for Bjorndalen. And the lead, is it going to be given away? America have a chance of going #1. Great shooting. Nordgren, 100% accuracy, and he closes the gap effectively on Norway. Ukraine just 1 miss. Kazakhstan are going out in the top 3 or 4. France are still there. Good effort from Simon Fourcade. The relays have not been kind to him over the last 5 or 6 seasons, so it's nice to see him have a good shoot, but he's still got the stand to come. It could all go horribly wrong for him. Scott Gow for Canada on the second leg. Christian took the first one, and then Smith and Green. So it's a strong-looking Canadian team. Czech Republic, 1 yellow flash, Slovenia 2, Switzerland 2. And 25 seconds separating the top 6. Simon Ada now at 32. At the exchange, Austria were 43 behind, so Ada is making ground, and he's gone from 11th up into 7th, as you can see. Goranichev gets 5 with 5, and as I said earlier, he was 112 behind. So we'll try and get an update on the Russians. I think they're under a minute. Well, I'll let you know. Now a Bjorndalen shot's going right, each shot going further and further over to the right-hand side. That 4th one missed right, the 5th one missed right. So as his targets moved left, the rounds, the fall of the shot moved to the right. The alignment was not correct from Bjorndalen on that occasion. Leif Nordgren, on the other hand, very, very accurate. Now we see Bjorndalen just winding it up. Nice skiing from him. He's opened up a bit of a gap. He was only 1.4 ahead of Nordgren initially. Well, what a contrast in styles. Semenov in third position, but he's got the company of Kazakhstan and France, and looks as though Simon Foucault is just starting to make a move. Simon Foucault, 85% hit rate in the stand. He's one of probably about 5% of the athletes who are better in the stand than they've been in the prone this year. Through 3.2 on leg number 2, and still a margin of 30 seconds separating the top 6 teams. Any of them can consider themselves a hopeful for a podium, and you certainly wouldn't rule Austria and Germany out at this stage. Ada just skiing ahead of Ries of Germany. Germany's final 2, the world sprint champion Benedikt Doll, and then the former world sprint champion Arndt Pfeiffer. So on paper it looks pretty good. Clement Bauer always thought you could get a London bus through those legs when he skis. When he started, it certainly wasn't the way to do it, but as time has gone on and coaches have developed new ideas on the steeper climbs, you don't really waste your time bringing the feet back in together. Bjorn Dahlen, on the other hand, the master of the V2. His technical skiing, second to none. "43 years old, and he's running away. He is running away from the rest of the pack. It's an extraordinary career he's had. He's not one that it's not one that many would choose. But it's a charmed life. Okay, the training's hard, the discipline has to be there, but put any of these guys in an office for a week and they will go straight back to a pair of skis. There's Simon Ada. Now, if he can do one of his rapid fire standing shoots, then he could be moving up into the top 5 after shoot number 2. Ries of Germany, 24, so still young, really most of them reaching their prime. He's a very good shot in the prone position, actually, Ries. He's got a good record this year, hasn't done many races, fair to say, and that makes a big difference when it comes to your average over the season. But the standing shoot's been a little bit of a concern, down at around 75%, and really most World Cup racers would be hoping to finish the season around the 85% mark. Garanichev, 82 in the stand. Simon Foucault, 85. Uliana Bjorn Dahlen, 83. So much of a muchness. Here he comes. How much of a lead do Norway need? Germanshaug and Labe Lund is not the strongest finish. With the 2 Burr brothers lined up, then you'd put your money on them. But it's going to be a tough race. But if 5 go down at the first time of asking, and this man is working, and he'll work just as hard for the team as he will for himself. Not distracted by the arrival of the others. Oh, I think he thought that had gone down. I think that was a case of rushing to get away from the mats. It's gone down at the second time of asking, so the gap could be closed. Simon Foucault, 1, 2, 3 in quick succession. This is how his brother does it. He matches his brother. Great shooting from Simon Foucault. He'll be on the tail of Bjorn Dahlen for the final 2.5. And Ukraine won a piece of the action as well. Sergei Semenov, excellent shooting from him. A little bit of a disaster for USA with Nordgren, 2 misses. Avoid the penalty loop. Here comes Simon Ada. He got 4 of the 5. quickest shoot we've seen so far. We saw a dreadful shoot, what was it, the second shoot in the sprint from Ada. Very uncharacteristic to see him taking over 30 seconds, and the results were poor. Kazakhstan 3 misses, but no penalty loop. Germany still there. 75%, remember. One shot, one target. In training, it would go down 99% of the time. In a race situation, it's not the same. He takes his time, makes sure. Russia with Goranichev. There goes the second spare round. One of the smallest men on the tour with the highest skiing tempo. Reminds me a little bit of Murillo Desolti, who used to race in the cross-country for Italy. Didn't have the stature, but he had a cadence that no one else could match. So, 4 shoots completed. Norway, France, Ukraine in the medal positions. Bjorndalen missing the prone on the right-hand side, missing the stand on the right-hand side, but only one spare required this time. Mark Kirchner, that doesn't need translating, does it? Absolutely fed up. Ries unable to put pressure on the race leaders. Germany have come out in 10th position, and they are still 105. Goranichev got to within a minute of the leaders. He's now back to 117, having required spares on his second shoot. Italy still haven't recovered from Lucas Hoffer's disaster early on. Disaster's a bit of a strong word, but it was not a good performance from Lucas Hoffer. He's down in 14, Korea in 17. Now, Italy do not want to be beaten by the Koreans. Timothy Lapshin is on course for Korea at the moment. Norway, France, Ukraine, still the leading 3, 16.7 seconds. Here comes Simon Ada. Thought he might be able to do something. Austria were in 11th position at the exchange, 43 behind. Ada's only gained 11 seconds, but he's gained plenty of places. Vega for Switzerland, Gao for Canada, Nordgren for USA, and the Americans have missed only 2 targets so far, and I think that matches the best. Canada with 2 misses, Ukraine with 2 misses, Norway with only 3 so far, all of them coming from Oleana Bjorndalen. Christiansen had the perfect start. Germanshaugen, Larby Lund taking the next 2 legs. Now, France finishing with Simon Dessieux and Martin Fourcade. That looks strong. Germanshaug, Larby Lund. Well, Larby Lund's a great athlete, but I think Norway need more than a 10-second lead coming into the halfway point. Goranichev, he's gone into oxygen debt. This man is digging deep to try and get Russia back into this one, but they're way off the pace. They're over 400 meters behind, and Simon Fourcade has worked hard to get back on the tail of Bjorndalen. I don't know which one of the two's breathing we were listening to there. I suspect from the facial expression that it was Simon Fourcade. Is he going to go through? I think he is. I think he is. France, they've had 1 relay win so far this season. That was in PyeongChang. Been a long time since they were right up the top of the standings come the end of the season. They were 4th, well, they're 3rd this year. They were 4th last year in the relay standings, 4th in 2015, and they were down in 6th in 2014. Ada at 28.7. The speed at the front has increased, so the chasing team's now struggling to close the gap. Here come the USA with Nordgren. Look at all that empty snow behind the 2 leaders. Well, that's quite a tight corner. Bjorndalen drifting very, very wide, and the temperature now, well, on the thermometers in the stadium it says +3, but just judging by the conditions of those tracks, I think it must be a little bit colder than that. Key leg for Norway, Vergaard Germanshaug. if he can get Norway a 30-second lead, Labe Lund might be able to keep Martin Fourcade at bay. But Fourcade can take 15 seconds out of just about everyone. Vladimir Semakov crosses himself. He might need a few prayers. If it all goes well, then the win is still possible for Ukraine, a team that haven't won for many, many years. Best they've done so far this year, well, 4th place. They've finished 4th on 3 occasions, so their consistency deserves to be rewarded with a podium finish. Now, if we combined the American-Canadian team, outrageous suggestion, I know, but it'd be interesting to see just how well they'd do. And America's team would be certainly strong. Combine the technicians as well, and their funding. I think we'd see them challenging for podiums on regular occasions. No offence meant. Now, away they go with Russia, 1:15, so actually Granichev bigged him up a little, but he's lost 3 seconds to the race leaders. He's improved Russia's position from the exchange when he was down in 16th, so he's got 5 places back, but he's not put the leaders under any threat whatsoever. I think these are good tactics from PyeongChang of Norway. He's only 58th in the World Cup rankings. Simon Dessier, on the other hand, top 25. And PyeongChang, another man who we haven't really seen very often. They tend to bring him in when the individuals are on. We saw him in Östersund, missed 5 to finish down in 24th position. He shot better in Antolz, but still finished down in 28th. And he's been in 40th in the 2 races here. So Dessier certainly favoured to finish first of the 2 leaders. And then that 22-second margin back to Semakov of Ukraine. And Ukraine were at 19, so Dessier doing a little bit of damage, trying to pick out someone who's making ground. Now, Benedikt Doll, 103 behind. He started this leg 58 behind, so that's a surprise. Yeah, I think Benedikt suffering from fatigue. 20th in the sprint, he was 8th in the pursuit. "26 races this season. It all started on the 1st of December. Our last race is on the 19th of March. So effectively 3 months, 90 days or so to fit in those 26 races. It's a crazy schedule, over 1 race every 3 days. But the hard part is that they often have 3 successive days of racing, as the men have had here in Korea. Julian Eberhardt, he's not got quite as much fight left in his legs, but he's made a name for himself this season. And the reward is that Julian Eberhardt, I know he had a reputation as a tremendous skier and a dreadful shot, but you don't get a 4th place in the World Cup standings by being a dreadful shot. He's just not quite as good as the likes of Martin Fourcade. But 2 wins this season. Eberhardt is certainly a potential Crystal Globe winner. For next year, maybe not. When Fourcade retires, certainly. Schemp and Chapulin aren't getting any younger, so Julian Eberhardt might just have his time. Doll 101 behind now. As I said earlier on, he started 58, so still 3 seconds lost. Simon Dessier really pushing the pace. And Simon Dessieux took the third leg of the World Championship relay, where France took the silver medal. He went 0-0 in the prone and then needed 3 spares in the stand. That was really their last chance to challenge Russia. Now, there has been a change in the wind, and it's switched from a direct left to right, and now much more of a head-on wind. Anyone changing their sights? No. Dessieux likely to strike first. Well, this is good shooting from PyeongChang. It could be Norway's only chance to outshoot the French. He's going to have a lead of at least 8 seconds. Let's see how much these missed round. Wind's picking up again. This could be a tricky one. Down it goes. Good control from Simon Dessieux, but he's got some skiing to do. He caught 8 seconds on Norway at the start of the first lap. You can play catch-up once, twice. Playing it 3 times is very, very difficult. Austria, a little unfortunate. And Eberhard, who's another of those who's got a better record in the stand than he has in the prone. Ukraine are going out in 3rd. Chance for Germany and Russia to make some ground on the podium positions. They're not going to get much closer to PyeongChang and Dessieux, but they can certainly get themselves within 20 seconds or so of the podium positions. That was a quick shoot from Benedict Doll. Doll on a 87% hit rate in the prone. It's going down. No, surely not a penalty loop at this stage. There is a penalty loop for Germany, and that is a disaster for them. And I'd love to have seen a shot of Arndt Pfeiffer, who's taking the anchor leg, because he knows he's going to have a minute and a half, at least, probably closer to 1:45, to make up on the race leaders. America in danger as well, but it goes down. Paul Schomer, who's come in for Tim Burke. Tim Burke raced in the World Championship relay. Sean Doherty on the last leg for the Americans. It's Norway and France doing battle up front. Well, good recovery from Simon Dessieux. With PyeongChang shooting fast and accurate, there was a danger of the French dropping off the pace. 5 shoots completed, 3 still to go. Norway, Ukraine, still the 2 top nations in terms of the rifle, and they sit in 1st and 3rd as a result of that. Dessieux, his misses, or his 1 miss in that prone, pushing France's tally up to 5 misses in all today. But they do have the world #1 on the last leg. Martin Fourcade, 13.3 the margin at the moment. I think Norway need a 30-second lead at least for Labe Lund to start with any confidence. It's getting colder and faster here in PyeongChang, and you can see they're starting to hang on in. There's a very tricky right-hand turn coming down into the stadium, and we saw Bjorndalen get within inches of the drop-off on the far side. We may have 1 or 2 incidents. We've only had 1 faller we've picked up on. That was Mickey Schlesinger earlier on, but I think that possibly a lapse of concentration, but it's glazed, and there's always a chance of the ski going offline. Those who ski with confidence will usually get away with it. Those who pitter-patter their way around the corners could find themselves in trouble. There's Julian Eberhard. He's a tall figure, finds it difficult to hang on those sharper corners. Eberhard, last time we saw him through a checkpoint was around 44, 45 seconds behind, and now still at 44, so not really making any advances. Slightly surprised by that. Germany's Benedikt Doll, 141 behind, and at the second exchange, Germany were 58, so it's been a disaster. That is the price of a penalty loop. You've obviously got 150 meters, which takes around 25 seconds, but you've also got the 3 spare rounds. Nice to see Jaroslav Sukup in action again for the Czech Republic. He'll be handing over to Mickey Kretschmar. Moravec deciding not to come to PyeongChang. He's been racing the IBU Cup up in Kontiolahti, so he's going to have 2 weeks of races there. He really likes the tracks in Kontiolahti. I'm not sure they're so different from here. Long, relentless climbs. One thing you do get in Kontiolahti is even more wind than we've had here. Eberhardt steadying things down. It's been a long, long season for Eberhardt. Now, can he finish in third in the World Cup standings? He's, what, 52 points behind Simon Schemp. I think it could be possible. Simon Schemp, of course, not racing here, so there's a real opportunity for him to do that. Of the big names that haven't been racing here, Svensson, Johannes Tingesbø and Simon Schemp. How much better shape will those who've sat out this World Cup be in? One of the issues is all the travelling. That's when they tend to get ill, get less rest, less sleep, and of course exposed to any bugs that might be on the aeroplane. And the chances are that someone on the tour is going to be ill. Looks like we're getting another faller. We are, and it's the Italian that's gone down. It's Giuseppe Montello. Is he okay? Falling over's bad enough, but when you've got a steel barrel about 2 inches behind your head, it's always a little disconcerting. Here we go. This could be the crucial stage for Norway. Germanshaug. The wind's died down a little, but he's still missed. Chance for France to make their move. Simon Dessieux needed 6 to hit the 5 in the prone. He's going to need at least 6 to hit the 5 in the stand as well. One target left apiece. Well, you could see the movement from Germanshaug, and now he's got to cope with the fact that he knows France are away. All that advantage he built up has gone in one shoot, and he could be on the penalty loop. He is on the penalty loop. Oh! Well, that gives someone else an opportunity, and the Austrians and the Ukrainians both take it. Great shooting from Semakov, and Austria's Julian Eberhardt, who I think was just controlling the pace coming into that second shoot. I think we might see him just like the fuse and have a scorching final lap. I hope so. I hope he's got something left in the tank. If that's the case, it will be Dominic Landertinger versus Martin Fourcade, but at the moment it could be an easy win for the French. That would be their second. They'd become they'd become the first team to win 2 relays this season, and it will put them up to 242 points in the relay standings. Russia, who've been having a bit of a meltdown, are in danger of losing that title. Now, where are Russia coming out? Their lead at the start of today, just 17 points over Germany, but thankfully for them, Germany are not doing too well. And they're 34 points clear of France. So I don't think they're in danger of being caught by the French, to be honest. Kazakhstan, Canada, Slovakia get away. Germany down in 6th. Really, it's Germany versus Russia for the title, and they're in 5th and 6th positions at the moment. The way things are standing, Russia will be the #1. A miss is as good as a mile, but on this occasion, the miss means 150 extra meters for Norway. It was a split round for Germanshaug, and such a shame after that fantastic effort. Now, here comes the charge, and Julian Eberhardt looks like a different animal this time round. He's gone from a sloth or a sloth to a cheetah in the space of 5 minutes. Still not closing too much of the gap on Dessieux, who went out of the stadium very, very hard. 19 seconds behind. He was 17. Germanshaug keeping Norway in the podium positions at the moment, but he's got the company of Semikov from Ukraine. He's at 35. He was at 29, so Simon Dessieux is the man who's setting the pace amongst the 4 leading teams, and Fourcade will be grateful. So here we go, we're approaching the final leg of the men's 4x7.5. France, Austria, Norway, Ukraine, the top 4. Norway going ahead of Ukraine since they've left the range. 6 shoots completed, 10 targets still waiting to be hit. Well, the lap time's getting quicker and quicker. 17:39 for the first lap. Second exchange at 35:42, and we'll wait and see what the third exchange is. I think we're looking at something like 52, 53 maybe. Well, the drop in temperature of a couple of degrees does make a massive difference. I didn't think we'd be getting down to this stage, but you can see for yourself that the conditions have got so much faster. Still on the steep uphills and corners, there's a little bit of soft snow there, but on the long downhills, the glazed conditions are giving them great speed, which makes it so much easier to get up the next climb. And the athletes out there will be enjoying this, all those that stay on their feet anyway. 36 now, the margin for Norway. Eberhardt starting to make some inroads on the French lead, but it's not enough. Landetinger, he'll watch Fourcade start, but he's going to be at least 120 meters behind by the time he gets out onto the track. Martin looking very, very relaxed. Here we go again. He's had a third, a first. He is the newly crowned champion for 2017, but he always says it's relay success that he enjoys more than anything. He believes that the rest of the French team deserve that feeling of standing on top of the podium. It's happened once this year. It didn't happen in the World Championships, which is where he really wanted it. And Dominic Landetinger is the man who has to try and chase the world's #1. Has he got it in him? Will he be thinking of chasing Fourcade, or will he be thinking of defending second place from Henrik Labelund of Norway? Germanshaug. It all started so well, and then that penalty loop costing Norway the chance, I think, of a win. We've seen the occasional meltdown from Martin Fourcade. It usually happens in Östersund at the start of the season, where we have wind and early season nerves combining. I don't think it's going to happen here. Benedikt Dahl's job is done, and Arndt Pfeiffer is away. The man who took the ankle leg for Germany in the World Championships. Germany, I'm mistaken, Pfeiffer of course took the third leg. It was Schemp who came in to take the ankle leg. So I think that was that the Korean team being lapped, or was it Lithuania? It might well have been Lithuania. I'll just try and update you on which teams are still in the running. We had 23 going through chute number 5. We've had 23 teams through chute number 6. Obviously, one or two teams still approaching the exchange. One or two. We've got 15 still to get through the third exchange. The leaders a long, long way clear. 2 minutes 9 seconds separating the top 9 at the moment. And Martin Fourcade is picking them off one by one. He's making it look very, very easy. And Bulgaria are going to be knocked out of this race. Fourcade going flying past them. Landertinger now at 21. He started at 16. Labi Lund is at 37. He started at 36. And Pedrushny started at 52. He's now at 57. What about Pfeiffer? 1:15. He's not made any inroads either. Shapulin, he's someone who's certainly capable of gaining. Down in 6th position at the moment, Russia. 6th position will give them 38 points and take them on to 254. Germany, to reach 254, have got to win. It's not going to happen. Henrik Labi Lund getting some welcome vocal support. Team 20, that's Romania with Cornel Pușianu. So they will be pulled out before the start of the next leg. Labi Lund at 40. He's lost 4 seconds, but only 15 off second place, and he was 20 seconds down on Austria. So a strong start from Labi Lund, and I think it might suggest that the Austrians with Dominik Landertinger are trying to defend second rather than chase first. But Landy, what was he, 4th to 7th in the pursuit, missed 2 on his last shoot. Put up a good fight up till that stage, but he's not on his best ski form. Yeah, Shapulin's cruising as well. 130 behind. He's 650 meters at least behind the race leaders, and in these conditions it might be closer to 700 meters, to be honest. A little bit of a breeze. What we could do with is a gale, an Östersund gale, just to liven things up, make it tricky for the race leaders. France didn't get a single relay win last year. They're on the verge of making it 2. Well, there's the first mistake. Don't think we'll see another one. Oh, we will. We will. Way over to the right-hand side. So, a little bit of pressure. A little bit of pressure. I don't think it's the wind. Don't forget we saw Norway missing over to the right with Bjorn Dahlen. So 2 spares, 16 seconds, but with Austria missing 1, it's not going to make any difference. Labi Lund, is he going to throw caution to the wind? Be nice to see someone try and rattle the targets down. Second spare for Landertinger, and France's substantial lead is resumed. Labi Lund taking at least 19 seconds before he got the first round away. Preparation. Well, you know what they say, prior preparation prevents a bad performance. little bit of anxiety coming into the shooting now. Germany and Russia. They've got two very, very experienced athletes out on the tracks. Russia don't want to finish down in 6th and then stand on top of the podium, collecting the relay World Cup title. They've got some support here. They've got more support than most teams, who have none. Ukraine, 3 misses, 24 seconds at least. Arndt Pfeiffer. Kirchner's chance of claiming a crystal globe have gone, because Russia now lead the Germans, and France too far behind. What did I say the margin was? 182 to 216. So we're looking at 34 points, the difference. But in the relays, it's pretty difficult to lose a lead of 34 points in one race. So for France to claim the title, they needed to win, with Russia finishing down in 15th position of the 25 teams. And I think you'd have to go back many, many years. In fact, I'd be surprised if they've ever finished outside the top 15. But France winning with another win, that will give them a good boost, and they'll head to Finland and Kontiolahti with confidence high. Lavilund, another of the Norwegian athletes that trains in Lillehammer. Great tracks. They'll still have good skiing at this time of year on natural snow. One thing I like about the Nordsetter area is the fact that all the piston bullies, all the track cutters have GPS in. And so you can look at a map in the information or the ski school and see exactly where the tracks are being cut, where they have been cut, and plan your day's skiing accordingly. Well, this is quite a good fight for second and third. Landertinger takes the inside line, looking for some slightly softer snow where others haven't trod, and he gets himself around the corner. All the Austrians, good alpine skiers. Anyone who's been to Hogfilsen will know that alpine is still the #1 sport down there. And of course, Hogfilsen not that far. What is it? 40 minutes or so at the very most from Kitzbühel. Fieberbrunn, another good alpine resort. So they all grow up learning how to ski. In fact, the schools, while we were down there for the World Championships, all the kids heading out, there can't be much more than 4, and the teachers taking them out on the slopes for the morning. I think they get 1 day a week. No wonder they're good. How do you explain Fourcade's success? Well, he's blessed with extraordinary physical attributes, but he's had plenty of inspirational characters. Of course, Raphael Poiret, who was his motivation early on. Bjorn Dahlen, who set all these records that Fourcade is now matching and bettering. And of course, he's got an older brother that's certainly good enough to give him a very, very stiff competition. It's all about circumstance and opportunity. Only 8 spare rounds required by the Russians so far, and how close are they getting? They're still a long, long way, over 30 seconds behind third place. So really it's just a battle of pride between Russia and Ukraine and Germany. Well, that's a little battle that I think will stimulate the Ukrainian team and Dmitry Pedrushny slightly more than it will the Russians and the Germans. So, are we going to see another 5 with 5? Fourcade actually missed his last 5 in the sprint event. He didn't miss the last 5. He missed one of the last 5. His trademark generally, clearing all targets. But there's his 3rd miss of the day. There's his 4th. Ooh, one more, and we might have an interesting situation. So the pulse rate coming down to something manageable. The arrival of Landertinger might disrupt him, but no, just gave Austria cause for hope and then dashed it. Now the battle is definitely on between Labi Lund and Dominic Landertinger. Labi Lund taking a long time to prepare in the prone, and an extra couple of seconds might prove worthwhile here. 3 to Austria, 3 apiece. There's the first miss. Oh, and the last 2 go wide. The mind playing games with Labi Lund there, because he was into a very, very comfortable shoot. Now this has got to go down, and it's got to go down fast. Otherwise, Schapulin could be starting to put pressure on the Norwegians. The race is on. Landertinger versus Labi Lund. That's an interesting one. Difficult to predict the outcome of that. Neither of them are going to get anywhere close to Martin Fourcade. And Schapulin, who had a chance at going onto the podium, now has to make sure that he beats Ukraine and Germany. He does just that. He's going to have a lonely ski on his last lap. Can he chase down 15 seconds on Labi Lund? He's got 18 to try and gain. Pfeiffer, still remember his final shoot in the mixed relay in Hogfilson. That was the one I was thinking of earlier on, where Germany, of course, came away with the gold medal. It was a fantastic, solid performance from Pfeiffer, and then we didn't really see the same again all the way through the championships. But this is where the race is. It's for 2nd and 3rd. It's not quite as exciting a situation as we saw in the women's, but the coaches are out there. Is that Stiernekov running alongside Labi Lund? Don't think so. Three races, 2 wins, 3 podiums for Martin Fourcade this weekend. 18 podium finishes in the individual races this year out of 21. Staggering consistency. He's been 5th on 2 occasions, and the worst result he's had this year has been 8th, and that was in Oberhof in the sprint event when the conditions were dreadful. Trying to remember who won that one. Actually, that was the first race that Julian Eberhardt won. Hit 10. He waited for just about the worst conditions of the year to clear the targets for the first time. Now Landertinger is still putting the power on. He had a lead of 7 seconds. It's gone up to 8. So Austria pulling away from Norway at the moment, but still some way to go. 1,800 meters. 1,800 meters. He's got to close that gap before they descend into the stadium for the final time. I can't really see it happening unless Landertinger has a stumble on one of the corners, and Anton Schapulin knows there is absolutely no point in making the chase. Well, he's still working hard just to keep Ukraine at bay. Only 22 teams going through exchange number 3, incidentally. So we've lost 3 teams. Estonia, Finland, Bulgaria, all lapped.
Es muss selber entscheiden, ob du nochmal probieren kannst jetzt. Ah, komm, das sind 9 Sekunden auf Ukraine.
Bit remiss of me not to mention the fact that Sweden didn't start. I don't think they started. They never reached the first exchange, so I'm assuming they haven't started today. Not sure what the issue was there. They had a team entered: Sturneson, Samuelsson, Femling, Nellin. He's getting closer. He's now just got 900 meters to go, and Norway closing from 7. It went to 8, and it's still at around 8.5, 9 seconds. So Landertinger is doing a decent job. Celebrations for the French already. Yet another win for them. The joy of being in a strong team. There are plenty of teams that go the whole way through the season without getting a win. They go the whole way through the season without getting anywhere near the podium, and still they come back for more. We saw a demonstration sprint in the pursuit as he crossed the line, and a little bit more showboating from Martin Fourcade. Great effort, but the job was done before he even started. So the congratulations have to go to Beatrix Simon Fourcade. A much better relay performance from him, which is great news, because it's been painful watching some of his relays over recent years. Do not give Simon Fourcade the first leg. He looks pretty comfortable on the second. Simon Desieux was strong. He held the likes of Norway's Germanshaug. Had a good battle with Germanshaug, but he came out the better and handed Fourcade a decent lead. Landertinger gets Austria up into 2. I was a bit worried at one stage with the Austrians dropping away early on. Vega, who came in for Mesetic, didn't have his best day, but Ada, Everhart, Landertinger doing very well. And Norway, I think they'll be reasonably happy with 3rd place. They've now had 1 first, 1 second, 1 third this season, but they've had an 8th and a 9th that they'll want to forget. Bjorndalen and, well, Bjorndalen really the only regular member of the Norwegian A team. Russia, bad start from them. They were 16th at the first exchange, 11th at the second. They got themselves up to 6th by the third, and Anton Shapulin giving them a respectable result. 1:11 off the pace. And Russia, incidentally, are the relay champions for 2017. Germany had a chance of catching them, but they needed to win, and they failed to do that. Disappointing day for the Germans. Lesser, Ries, Doll and Pfeiffer below par. Well, so that's all the action from PyeongChang. Let's just have confirmation of the top 6 positions. 139 separating them. The shooting scores not as good as usual. Usually the winners or the top 3 or 4 teams around 5 or 6 missed targets. A little bit blustery mid-race. Those on legs at the back end of leg 2. The starters in leg 3 had the toughest of. The winning time, just a minute or slower than predicted. Good sprint finish between America, the Czech Republic and Kazakhstan. It's the Czechs who are going to win it for 8th place, 3:11. The Czechs, big fall from Mickey Schlesinger on the first leg, and their shooting scores 2 penalty loops for the Czech Republic today. USA, we saw them missing targets, but they avoided the penalties. Ended up with 9 spare rounds used. Quickest of the teams with a penalty were Norway, and that came at the back end of leg 3. Germanshaug missing on the stand shoot. Only 9 missed shots in all for the Norwegians, which is okay, but the penalty loop proving far too expensive, and that's where their chance of getting the win vanished. Worst shooting, bit mean to pick them out. Korea, the host nation. for the final stages of the season. Is it slightly bizarre they haven't come to check out the Olympic tracks? Well, they can chat to their mates and find out exactly what they were like. Here's your Austrian quartet, and Vega is in for Mesetic. So I think we could see something good from them. Simoneda taking the second leg. If they're with the leaders at halfway, I think Austria will challenge for a top three. The Czech Republic, it's been a long time since we saw them have success. Best for them this season is 5th. On my clock, we've got 15 seconds before the hour. The heartbeat has started. A steady 75 BPM. And away they go. Really powerful start from Maxim Svetkov of Russia on the near side. He wants a lead, he wants to dictate the pace, and that's a good positive move from him. Bedrix of France is out of trouble on the left-hand side. Good move, and Christiansen of Norway benefiting from Svetkov's effort because he's been sucked up into second place, and that's pretty much where you want to be at this stage. The speed that Svetkov went out has spread the field over some 30 metres, and consequently far less congestion on those first couple of corners than we saw in the women's race earlier on. Perhaps the most impressive is Lucas Hoffer. He was back on the 3rd rank. He's got himself right up alongside Svetkov. So with some good tactics and a lot of effort, I suspect, he's got himself into a good position. But I think it shows that the Italians have some intent. Let's keep an eye on him. He's wearing bib number 8. Just can't quite work out how he got his way through. Well, there he is. He started on the left, worked his way over to the right, and I think he pinged the fact that Svetkov went off very, very hard and opened up a gap behind him. Christiansen obviously sucked along, but then Schlesinger of the Czech Republic wasn't interested in going on everything. So here are your top teams, and their number corresponds to their ranking after the World Cups from the season. Russia, as I mentioned, 4 out of 4 podiums, career racing 25. They've brought in Timothy Lapshin. You may remember him when he used to race for Russia. They've got Avamakova and Frelina also on the women's side. I do suspect that's the only way they're going to get any success in the biathlon and the Nordic events next year. Left it a little bit late, I think. Now, what can the Americans do? They put their best first, playing their trump card early with Lowell Bailey. There's Lesser. He's had the razor out. Takes the first leg for Germany, obviously. Eric Lesser, 6th in the World Cup standing. So although we've not seen a massive amount of him, he's been very, very consistent all the way through the year. I think he'd be reasonably happy with the way things have gone. Just looking, what's he had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 5 finishes, but it's the wins that really get him the column inches, and that's what he needs just to boost his season. He's got 5 more chances, 5 more individual races. Obviously, Contiolati, a sprint and a pursuit, and then we've got a couple of mixed relays, the single mixed relay and the mixed relay on the Sunday. And then Oslo, the traditional finish to the season, which we've seen in Khanty-Mansiysk many times, a sprint pursuit, and then the last day of the season is the mass start. So 5 chances for those athletes that haven't quite fulfilled their ambitions to put things right. Christiansen, Bjorndalen, Germanshout, Larby Lund. Well, noticeable for the absentees. The Burr brothers are not here, Svensson's not here. Just recharging their batteries at a crazy pace. So, Russia 1, Italy 2, Norway 3. Now let's have I was going to say a little wager. We don't need anything like that, but just thinking that we're going to see a change in the top three, the order of the top three, every time they come in to shoot. And that usually only occurs when you have a close race. These tracks here, they suit the stronger skiers, so the field tends to be a little more spread than it would on some of the easier tracks. Well, it's sounding a whole lot quicker than it did earlier on. Just, you can still see that there's a lot of loose snow on the top. They've been scraping the snow ever since the finish of the women's race, and it's exposed some of the ice underneath. But the fact that the temperature's still at 4 degrees means that it's not quite as rock hard as it would be as if the temperatures were down at 0. So Lucas Hoff is making everyone hurt at the moment, climbing the hills well. Svetkov sitting back 2 or 3 meters, but look at the spread. Well, that is very, very unusual. And those teams who were unlucky enough to be at the back of the grid, America amongst them because of the race they missed earlier on in the season. Hoffa piling on the pressure. Norway's quartet, Christiansen, Bjorndalen, Germantaugen, Labe, Lund. This is only Christiansen's 6th World Cup race this season. Lots of IVU action, but 2 respectable results. In the sprint he finished 18th, and the pursuit he worked his way up to 12th, hitting 18 out of 20. So I think this is a fairly critical World Cup. I think this is where Labe Lund, Team 5, that's Ukraine, Prima, Semenov, Semikov, Podrushny. There's Sergei Semenov. And just in case you're wondering where my partner in crime is, Mike Dixon, still at the Nordic World Championships. They're on their final day today, and he'll be rejoining us for the next round of the World Cup in Kontiolahti. And then he'll be taking the last week of the season off to go and race in the Masters Championships in Kontiolahti again. So he'll have seen a fair amount of Finland over the last 6 weeks, and very little of his family. Well, there's Julian Eberhardt. What a star. What a star he is, winning the sprint race here. And I think, actually, although he's obviously delighted to get his 3rd World Cup win, I think the most significant thing about his success here this week is the fact that he got a podium finish in a 4-shoot race. He's making the big time, and if he can get another good run today, his confidence is going to be sky high. And so much of biathlon, particularly the shooting part, is about confidence. There he is. He's one of the tallest men on the tour. He's got the broadest shoulders of anyone I've seen on the tour. He's an absolutely monster of a man. And the temperature it's dropped a little bit. We had the highest we got in the women's race was 7 degrees. It's on its way down, but there's still 100% cloud cover, so there's no chance that it's going below freezing anytime soon. If it did, it would produce some pretty dangerous conditions. I think the downhills would be super fast, but I don't think there's any danger of that happening. Well, there's your course. 3 loops of the 2.5 kilometre for each athlete. 2 shoots apiece, 1 in the pro and 1 in the stand, as you all know, and crucially those 3 spare rounds. The women's shooting was not good. Yes, there was a bit of wind, but really I don't think the wind explains. 2018, the first gold medals to be decided, and those who've done well here this week will believe in themselves. There's no doubt that the tracks here suit certain athletes. They suit the hill climbers, the Macarainas, the Laura Dalmeyer, certainly. On the men's side, well, Julian Eberhardt's proved he can do it. Martin Fourcade is without a doubt the strongest hill climber on the tour. So expect to see them collecting medals of some colour next year. Russia wearing bib number 1. It's been a good season for them, 4 out of 4 on the podium. Can they make it 5 out of 5? Karanichev is back on form. He's been racing well here. 2 top 10 finishes in the sprint and the pursuit. There's the anchor leg. No surprise to see Anton Shapulin. Of course, Russia, the world champions. That was a good performance from them. So still a few minutes to go before the start of the race. Roman Rees gets a call up for the German squad. Lesser, Rees, Doll and Pfeiffer, the lineup. Benedikt Doll was the man who really let it go in the World Championships. They ended up down in 4th, although it has to be said, Landertinger out skiing Simon Schemp on that last 2.5 kilometres. That was one of the spectacles of the championships, and Simon Schemp outclassed on the final climb. The French, Biathlon, Simon Fourcade goes 2, Simon Dessieux goes 3, and then Martin Fourcade bringing up the rear. No rest for him, despite the fact that he's now achieved just about everything he wanted to achieve this year. He is knocking the records off one by one. Christiansen certainly made advantages in the Norwegian team, and they call on the master, the man who dominated the tour, the World Championships here back in 2009. Bjorndalen, he took gold in the sprint, the pursuit, the individual. Didn't get the mass start. That went to Dominic Landertinger, actually.